This segment of DelmarvaLife is sponsored by TidalHealth.
You know, being a parent is one of the biggest challenges a person can face, especially when children are very young. It's a massive responsibility, and it's one where you never know what to expect at any given moment.
Obviously, the health of our kids is of paramount importance, which is why ensuring they get the best care possible means choosing the quality pediatric plan. Well, joining us via Zoom this afternoon is Jillian Sharp, the Clinical Director of Pediatric Development and Therapy. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing.
Okay, so that's exactly what I want to know. Tell us about TidalHealth Pediatric Development and Therapy. What does this practice bring to Delmarva?
Sure. So TidalHealth is really responding to the needs that have been identified by the state in this area with regards to pediatric therapy. There's nothing really out there for children with special needs or learning challenges in terms of a clinic setting. So we are opening an interdisciplinary clinic center called TidalHealth Pediatric Development and Therapy. And currently, most therapy services are provided in the homes, and there's not a ton of options out there. So being served in the home works really well for certain children, but it does limit their access to specialized equipment that you can only have in a clinic setting. And it also has a lot less support for clinicians in terms of their training and development opportunities, which means in the clinic setting, the clinicians would be stronger because they're learning from other people around them. So a clinic-based environment really has a lot more affordances for skill development for children and benefiting the clinicians, the different therapy types. It's just such a powerful intervention when an interdisciplinary team works together.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. What kind of services will parents be able to get for their children?
Yeah, so we're going to be providing 3 services in our centers on the Eastern Shore. We're going to be providing ABA therapy, which is an intensive therapy service, particularly for children with autism. It has incredible research behind it in terms of its effectiveness in functional outcomes and communication for children on the autism spectrum. And then we'll also be providing occupational therapy, which has a pretty broad scope. Occupational therapy focuses on sensory processing, so children who are avoidant or defensive or sensitive to different sensations in their environment. It focuses on play skills, executive functioning, self-care, fine motor, gross motor. So a lot of different areas that we focus on, and a child with or without a diagnosis of any kind who's struggling to participate in age-appropriate activities or in their school environment, preschool environment, social settings, can come in for an evaluation and see if we can support them. And then the third therapy type we're having is speech and language pathology. They focus on expressive language, which is the ability to communicate through either words, pictures, devices. There's so many different ways to communicate other than verbal. And then receptive language is the ability to kind of hear and understand, take in information, process it, know what to do with it. Speech therapists also work on cognitive functions. They work on feeding and swallowing disorders. So pretty wide range of difficulties that we can support children and families with.
That is a lot going on there. So why is this model different for therapists?
Yeah, so this is my favorite thing to talk about ever. In my first job, I worked at a clinic center, but it only had occupational therapy. And I learned more in 1 month at Pediatric Advanced Therapy than I did in an entire year somewhere else, because the focus is on treating the whole child. And so we're incorporating the perspectives of all therapy specialists on the team. So we're looking at the whole child, all the aspects of the child, their home environment, their school environment. We're looking to see where they're struggling, and as a team, we come up with the best possible plan to help that child succeed. So we're using interventions and strategies from all these 3 disciplines across all of their therapy times.
So if a parent is watching and thinking, I need this for my child, what's the next step? Do they get the child evaluated?
Yeah, so they get the child evaluated with us. If the child has autism, then they can be evaluated for ABA. For speech and occupational therapy, they do not need a diagnosis of any kind. So the parent can identify, oh, I feel like my kid is not progressing in their speech and language skills compared to the other kids that we're seeing at the playground, or we melt down at birthday parties and other kids aren't melting down at birthday parties. So any of those kinds of things, they can just self-refer. They can reach out to us, either fill out our form on our website, or they can call our office or speak to their primary care physician and say, hey, I'm concerned about this. Could I get a referral? But for speech and occupational therapy, they do not need a referral from a physician. We can communicate with their physician once we have the report and the evaluation and see if services are needed. For ABA, they will need a referral from their physician, but they can also go ahead and start the process with us and we can support that. We try to make it as easy as possible for our parents, because if you're a parent of a child with special needs or any kind of challenges, it's just so much harder.
Yeah.
So we try to take as much burden off of it as we can.
This is very, very exciting. So glad it's coming here to Delmarva. Jillian Sharp with Pediatric Development and Therapy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.